a variety of things. It's a well-known language school in Costa Rica, and it was established in the 1990s. And since I got there, it has undergone some changes. So the information I'm giving you is as it stands right now, and then there are some changes that will occur, and that remains to be seen how it's going to change. But COSI itself will be the language school. They have a Manuel Antonio seat, and that's the one that I went to. Máximo Nivel just acquired COSI. In fact, the first week I was there, it was COSI. The second week I was there, it was Máximo Nivel. The transition was smooth, because for me it didn't affect classes that I was taking, it didn't affect the way things were run. But they have a very interesting network, and I got to speak to Mr. Ken, as he wanted me to call him, Mr. Ken, who's the new owner. And he's very much interested in changing the way Manuel Antonio's COSI functions. And so I would be happy to put you in contact with him at the end of the presentation to see how those things would change. Cultural exchange, I'm Boricua, but I also feel somewhat tica and sometimes gringa. They would throw the term gringa at me quite a bit, and that just basically means that I'm from everywhere, I guess. But these are some of the folks that I got to hang out with. The lady in the center is my teacher, Senora Patricia Bolaños. She was very, very, very kind to me. The rose. I play a game with my students. The rose, the thorn, and the elephant. And so for me, my rose was this catamaran cruise. And it seems kind of silly to talk about it as a rose, but I actually just expected it to be a little dolphin tour. I thought we were going to get on some boats and see some dolphins. We did see dolphins, but there was all this other stuff involved as well. It was actually a party boat. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to take pictures of dolphins, and instead we're having a party on the boat and we're snorkeling, and it was quite a surprise. The thorn. Okay, so the picture on the right shows the first day I was there at COSI. You see this beautiful skyline, it's just gorgeous, there's all this sun. But the weather changed by the time I was there. By the end of my trip, I was there for 2 weeks. The weather had changed to the point where the rain was happening much earlier. And so by my last day, that picture on the left represents what I had to walk home in, and I actually had to call a cab because I couldn't walk. I kept washing my flip-flops off. The rain was so hard. But that's what you deal with when you go in the wintertime, and for them the wintertime is summer. The elephant, somewhat a surprise. Sometimes I don't pay attention to a lot of details, but while I was there, I really was sensitive to the weather changes. And I had a running bet with Doña Margarita, with the family with whom I was staying, and she would say, well, it's not going to rain today. And I would say, well, I think it's going to rain in the afternoon, and I'd be right. And so that was kind of something I was surprised about. Another elephant, the whitewater rafting trip on the Rio Alegre. So like I say, a lot of these are day trips that you can do. You can do them in the morning, or you can do them in the afternoon. My classes were about 3 hours long. So the Alegre trip, I had to take a whole day for that one because you had to go a little bit farther. But for most of the things, you can do an activity in the morning, and then in the afternoon you can take your classes. Since I was doing the one-on-one studying, I didn't need to learn how to conjugate verbs. So I had a lot of one-on-one conversations, and we spoke on typical eco topics. But I was able to also incorporate some really nice trips in between that. Curricular ties. Now, this is why we travel. If we're going to travel and we're going to do an immersion experience, and it's important to go in there thinking, well, how am I going to bring this back to my classroom? What am I going to teach my students? What are they going to get out of my experience going? So I always keep in mind the actual 5 C's and, of course, the AP themes, and those have changed. And so some of the things that I'm going to show you near the end of this presentation will deal specifically with what I have done as a result of that. During class, I've been able to have some very interesting conversations with my students. I've been able to point perspectives out, things that I've experienced, things that I've seen, and be able to tie it into things that we're discussing in the classroom setting. And of course, enhancing our global studies. I've been able to, we have a global studies program at our school, and I've been able to talk to the global studies director, my experiences as an immersion student, as well as my experiences being a Hispanic traveling abroad, how there's always opportunities to continue learning about your own culture and others as well. So once again, gracias por la oportunidad. It was a fantastic experience, and I still am processing everything that I've learned from that. And I also turned 20 again. Wait. In Costa Rica, I turned 20 back in the day, and I turned 20 again. I've been 20 for a long time. I decided to stay there. It's a nice age. All right, and these are all the specific informations, but all the photos were my own. So I hope you enjoyed that particular presentation. Do you guys have any questions? I saw that some of you were writing.
You put both fleets in Manuel Antonio?
Yes. I actually went down there 2 times this summer. I liked it so much. So I did the COSI trip, and then I went back with my husband because he's like, let's do this, because I had showed him the place, and I said, well, I want to go there specifically to do the COSI experience, and then we can come back. He wanted to do a summer vacation trip somewhere. I'm like, why do you want to go to Spain? Let's go to Costa Rica, because it's really great, and he loved it. And so some of the pictures that I used were from both of the trips, but I mean, I was taking him to the places that I had been and all the things that I had seen, so it was cool because I got to teach him about those experiences. And he wanted to do the horseback riding, so I'm like, all right, let's do it. But yes, I did the 2 weeks in Manuel Antonio, and I did another 2 weeks in Manuel Antonio, so for an accumulated 20, actually it was close to a whole month in Costa Rica in that particular area, most of July and into August. So it was great. I really got into it. I feel I was soaked in it. That's why I say I'm a pica now. I feel pica. I feel boricua pica. Were there any other questions that you guys might have about the presentation or about the experience that I had as a scholarship recipient or as a student?
Were you able to elect the dates that you liked?
Yes. COSI is a year-long program, and so will Maximo Nivel. It's a year-long program. They have a program for adults. So if you have a week or 2 that you want to take and do some sort of an immersion, if you want to do a specific course of study, a lot of these language schools, and COSI is no different than this, will cater to you. You communicate with them what your needs are, and they will in turn give you something customized. Maximo Nivel also does they do a teacher training, I think, for the oral proficiency exam that ACFO gives. Now, I wasn't able to sign up for that particular component because that was not part of what I was doing. But what I did instead was I had 3 hours every day of private tutoring, and in those 3 hours, I spent that time with Mrs. Bolaños, and she and I sat down, and I would say, well, I'm a teacher, I'm interested in these topics, how do they relate in Costa Rica? And then we would have a lot of conversation back and forth about those things, and she provided me with materials and gave me suggestions, and suggestions like these little wonderful gems here, sopas a la tica, which are just they're little tiny crossword puzzles, and I like small things, so little tiny crossword puzzles that are thematic. And I got almost all of them. I don't have number 4, so I'm going to have to go back to Costa Rica and get the 4th one. But these are great. They're instructional and didactic, and it's authentic. And more importantly, it's something that you can bring back. And she also suggested these trabalenguas, which I have been torturing my students with. Trabalenguas are great, but the trabalenguas a la tica even greater, because I can really show them this is something that I learned. And I had to go through a number of these, and please don't make me demonstrate one right now for you. But the trabalenguas are a great way to loosen the tongue. But that was another one of the takeaways that I got from my experience, and Senora Bolaños was very generous in sharing these with me, and she pointed out where I could get them, because that's the other thing, like, where can I get these? They're not easy to get. So sometimes you have to go into the tienditas, and she's like, go to this tiendita, not that tiendita. This tiendita is for the locals, this tiendita is for the tourists. So this tiendita is going to be 2 times more than that tiendita, and that's an important thing to know as well. Also, did you have any other questions, or about the anything?
Did you hear anyone speak of the controversial issues like Costa Rica lets them go and kill sharks and things like Yemen?
It never got that controversial.
Okay.
Where I was hanging out, but there were other things that they were discussing a lot. But they discussed a lot. They asked us about Eric Snowden a lot. They were very concerned about us, Eric Snowden, and how upset we were. I was like, I don't know what's happening with that, because I don't have Wi-Fi, so I haven't been keeping up with it mercifully. But there were some of the things that they were concerned concerned about for us. But I think they were mostly, at the time that I was there, which was late July, early August, they were very interested in national things. And so while I was there, it was Mother's Day. Mother's Day was the day that I left. So I missed that, but there was a whole lot of leading up to that. So they were really focused on that. And they had also celebrated the Virgen, Virgen del Carmen, I believe is what it was. No, it wasn't Virgen del Carmen, I'm sorry. But they call her La Negrita. And they had their national patron saint festival at the time. And that was a big thing. That was something that was to be discussed. And then they spent a lot of time discussing the show called Combate. Combate was a national obsession. It's actually it's a live TV show where people get up and they do combat and they do little activities. It's strange, but that was something that they were very interested in. But not in nothing controversial, I suppose, because they're happy. They don't want to argue with anybody. So, okay, maybe they didn't want to talk to me about it because I was visiting.
Okay.
So sometimes, not to rain on my parade, they don't want to talk about unpleasant things. So everything was pura vida, tuanis, which means too nice. Pura vida, too nice, talk about those things. It's a little controversial. So, and you're not here to talk about that. That's what la señora. I would ask her questions and no, you're not here to talk about that. I actually am. But any other things that you would ask me about?
So within the program, you pretty much, you have the freedom to choose how you spend your time and get the most of.
Absolutely. I showed you some of the experiences that I had specifically, but I was able to, while I was there during the time that I was there for COSI, I could do my morning activities leading up to about 1 o'clock p.m. and then from 1 to 4 I had my classes. And that was great for me because that also happened to be when the weather was the most unpredictable. And I knew that. So I told them, I'd rather have an afternoon class. And then in the mornings, if I wanted to walk around campus, or if I wanted to do an activity, I could do that. Most of the time, though, I went to the beach and I just, I had lots of conversations with people, and I did a lot of, I went back to Manuel Antonio several times. I was there quite a few times because it's such a beautiful place and you just want to soak it all in. And, interesting conversations with folks from all over the world. There were a lot of folks from France there, a lot of Canadians. And so it's a very well-traveled area, but, you get that spice of life as well. So yeah, you can totally do that. And you're free on the weekends, so if you have a bigger excursion, or if you want to go to another region and then come back, there's internal transportation is pretty decent, and you can certainly customize your experience. You can go very luxe if you want, or you can do a little bit more bare bones. My time in at the COSI was, I wanted to see how cheap I could be. How cheap I could be. I was like, okay, I've got so many colones, and that's all I'm going to use today, and let's see what I can do with that. And ride the bus up and down, and eat casados, and do that sort of thing. Just kind of live that kind of little bit of a beach bum lifestyle. I'm going to be honest, because it was nice. but I set that kind of limit. And then when I went back with my husband, we did a little bit more of the touristy stuff. But I could really appreciate the culture.
Do they give you a set of guidelines or requirements or things that you need to do?
Yes. In my binder over there, which you're welcome to take a look at, in the binder that I have over there, I have all of the material they gave me and all the things that I collected. They'll give you a book, and in the book, all the helpful information that you would need about buses, phone numbers, maps of the area, different tours. COSI has some tours in particular that they recommend, certain companies that they recommend, and they'll be helpful in helping you arrange those things. And oftentimes, they'll split the cost with the companies, so it's like a 50-50, so they help each other out. But it also makes it more convenient for you, that way you don't feel like you're getting ripped off and you're taken advantage of. I felt very safe when I was there, and I have a little identity card that they gave me that was laminated, which is nice because it rains a lot there. It had all the basic information, and as long as I had that card, if I got stuck somewhere or somehow got separated or I needed to get somebody, I knew